Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun, and I've been talking about the cost of living. Today I will be talking about China, and I've been talking about China. If you watch this video, watch it alongside the other videos on China and also on other subtopics which are linked with the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is a global phenomenon caused by capitalism, an extreme form of capitalism devoid of public sector, which is supposed to provide public service. Public service is being neglected by public policy, by governments of the world who is practicing an extreme form of capitalism. And I've already said this, we'll continue to say it again. If we are to solve problem of any sort, we need to know the nature of the problem, what is causing it, and what plan we would have, whether you are a child, 10 years, 20 years, young person, an adult, or a pensioner. You have a responsibility as an individual in a modern world where the government has given you the opportunity to run your own life. In the previous video, I hinted about the system of rule, and I've argued that the rule of the few over the many is the problem. In those referred to as citizens, we find them to be poor, the majority, and we find them to be rich, the minority. These are citizens. Different color classes, the working classes, and the aristocracy found across the globe, in China, in Asia, in Europe, and other parts of the continent and the countries. And let us pay attention to this and consider the cultural learning, which I also spoke about, changing our system of valuation, valuing society and valuing humanity as superiority alongside valuing other factors of society. Let's look at the geography of China. We have seen many elements of China as a country, and now today we're going to look at geography and the geography China topographic map of East Asian countries. China's landscape is vast and diverse, ranging from the Gobi and Taklamakan deserts in the arid north to the subtropical forest in the western south. The Himalaya, Karakoram, Pamir, Tian Shan mountain ranges separate China from much of South and Central Asia. The Tongs and Yellow rivers, the third and the sixth longest in the world, respectively, run from the Tibetan Plateau to the densely populated eastern seaboard. China's coastline along the Pacific Ocean is the 14,500 kilometers, 9,000 miles long, and is bounded by the Bohai, Yellow, East China, and South China Seas. China connects through the Kazakh border to the Eurasian steppe, which has been an artery of communication between East and West since the Neolithic. Through the steep route, the ancestor of the terrestrial Silk Roads. If you watch this video, watch it in conjunction with the other videos for it to make sense. It's a continuation on China. The territory of China lies between latitude 18th degree and 54 degrees north, and longitude 73 degrees and 133 east. The geographical center of China is marked by the center of the country monument at 35 degrees and 50 inches, 49.9 feet and inches respectively, 103 degrees and 25 feet, 7.5 inches east. In the east, along the shores of the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea, there are extensive and densely populated alluvial plains, while on the edges of the inner Mongolian plateau in the north, broad grasslands predominate. South China is dominated by the hills and low mountain ranges, while the Central East Coast, the deltas of China's two major rivers, the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. Other major rivers include the Zi, Mekong, Brahmaputra, and Amur. The west sit major mountain ranges, most notably the Himalayas. High plateaus feature among the more arid landscapes of the north, such as the Taklamakan and the Gobi Desert. The world's highest point, Mount Everest, 8,848 miles, lies on the Sino-Nepalese border. Let us look at the climate of China. We're looking at the resources of China. If you watch this video connected with the previous videos, for it to make sense, it's a continuation on China. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Thank you to everyone who have been helping to support this channel. Share the video with family and friends. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments box, and ring the notification bell. Click on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on the new videos. So we have places like Copenhagen climate classification map for mainland China. China's climate is mainly dominated by dry seasons and wet monsoons, which lead to the pronounced temperature differences between winter and summer. In the winter, the northern winds coming from high latitude areas are cold and dry. In summer, southern winds from coastal areas at lower latitudes are warm and moist. A major environmental issue in China is the continued expansion of its deserts, particularly the Gobi Desert. Although barrier trees barrier tree lines planted since the 1970s have reduced the frequency of sandstorms, prolonged drought, and poor agricultural practices have resulted in dust storms plaguing northern China each spring, which then spread to other parts of East Asia, including Japan and Korea. China's environmental watchdog, CEPA, stated in 2007 that China is losing 4,000 square kilometers, 1,500 square miles per year to desertification. Water quality, erosion, and pollution control have become important issues in China's relations with other countries. Melting glaciers in the Himalayas could potentially lead to water shortages for hundreds of millions of people. According to academics, in order to limit climate change in China to 1.5 degrees, 2.7 Fahrenheit electricity generation from coal in China without carbon capture must be phased out by 2045. With current policies, the GHG emissions of China will probably peak in 2025 and 2030. By 2030, they will return to 2022 level. If we look at geography, including climate, we are looking at the potential in terms of the economy, in terms of the natural resources, what China presents. And you watch this video in conjunction with the rest of the videos, and you will form a better perspective of what we are trying to portray. And we are linking this information with the cost of living crisis, which I said is primarily caused by the economic system of globalization known as capitalism, global capitalism, which actually concentrates wealth in the hands of the few, taking the same wealth away from the hands of the many. And also, I've also said the purpose for this is actually the system of rule, which can only be corrected to bring peace by learning the culture. Culture is respect for people. And these are points I've repeated so that we remind ourselves that the cost of living as a crisis is just a symptom of a larger problem. We can choose to actually narrow our understanding to the cost of living crisis, which may or may not go away soon. But always, because of the system of rule, there is always a crisis waiting in the wings. So we are not going to rest. Let us deal with the cost of living crisis. But also let us know that to at least improve the condition, governments of the world, including government of China, is supposed to strengthen the public sector in order to provide a stronger public services, including the raising of income for people who are actually poor, especially those at the bottom of the pile of the class system, who are workers, who are on low minimum wage. This rising of income should apply in China and also globally in every country. And I will also say that to solve the problem of cost of living, the governments, including of China, as well as other countries, should work together in coalition to harmonize the public policy objectives and also to make sure public services are actually improved, while with the income for people who need help with the cost of living crisis, the 90 to 95% who work for living. And the middle class may not really feel the strength of the cost of living crisis, but you could argue that, up to 50% of the population, perhaps more, who actually are on low pay, who are on the lower scale of society in terms of how they work and how they earn. These are the ones who need help from the state by providing money to top up their income, or if they work, providing support for small and medium businesses and for this and to also encourage big businesses which are actually wealthy, multi-million and multi-billion businesses, to improve the way the level of pay for people who work, because unless this is done in the short medium term, going into the long term, the problem with the cost of living crisis will be there forever. People may forget about it, or maybe some credit system may provide support for people who might access it. But there are a group of people, perhaps 30%, who will continue to suffer. But you see, problems like this will not go away entirely, because they are actually symptoms of this economic system. And we need to address it now as a format of development. And also, in the long term, we need to change the way we educate society about humanity, valuing humanity more than valuing anything else as a priority. So let's go back to this material to review it, demonstrating what China looks like in terms of natural resources and opportunities there, and also other factors affecting our society. However, such pathway, we're looking at geography and climate. However, such pathways still lead to 3 degree temperature rise. Official government statistics about Chinese agricultural productivity are considered unreliable due to exaggeration of production and subsidiary government levels. Much of China has a climate very suitable for agriculture, and the country has been the world's largest producer of rice, wheat, tomatoes, eggplant, grapes, watermelon, spinach, and many other crops. Let's look at biodiversity, wildlife of China. Looking at animals like giant pandas, Chinese most famous endangered and endemic species, at the Chengdu Panda Place in Sichuan. It's an example of how things are happening there. This information similar to other information. The structure of this information is similar to structure of information in other countries. China is one of 17 mega diverse countries lying in 2 of the world's major by geographic realms, the Palearctic and the Indo-Himalayan. By one measure, China has over 34,687 species of animals and vascular plants, making it the 3rd most biodiverse country in the world after Brazil and Colombia. The country signed the Rio de Janeiro Convention on Biological Diversity on the 11th of June 1992 and became a party to the convention on the 5th of January 1993, and later produced a national diversity strategy and action plan with one revision that was received by the convention on the 21st of September 2010. China is home to at least 551 species of mammals, the 3rd highest such number in the world, 1,221 species of birds, 8th in the world, 424 species of reptiles, 7th in the world, 333 species of amphibians, 7th in the world. is some of the information on China. You see its natural resources and productive resources, and compare that with the incident of cost of living crisis to try and provide a picture of what is happening in China. The situation there. At least 840 animal species are threatened, vulnerable, or in danger of local extinction in China, due mainly to human activity such as habitat destruction, pollution, and poaching of food, fur, and ingredients for traditional Chinese medicine. It's a shame for China in the world. People have to poach to provide food. Poaching actually is theft, is stealing what the law says you shouldn't hunt. You are hunting species which the law says you shouldn't hunt for food, and that's a shame on society because there should be enough food in China for everyone. There should be enough food everywhere in the world. People should not suffer food poverty. No one should suffer energy poverty. No one should suffer homelessness. No one should suffer lack of accessing, lack of medical support, medical treatment, and people should not be ignorant, failing to take their children to school. And everyone should be able to access employment and getting decent pay and good condition of employment across the globe, including in China. And those who don't work should be accessing grants, not loan, grants from the government to their income, because they can't work. With technology now on the increase, more and more people are going to be out of work. So I'm talking about this so that people actually don't lose sight of what matters. Because when we are trying to look at the cost of living crisis, not knowing that it is actually a policy issue, it's an income problem, and the government can actually eradicate poverty around the world, in China, across the globe. That is my aim. I want this message to get out. I use this material to actually back up some of the things I say. And what I am saying is what you need to pay attention to. Endangered wildlife is protected by law. And as of 2005, the country has over 2,349 nature reserves, covering a total area of 149.95 million hectares, 15% of China's total land area. Most wild animals are being eliminated from the core cultural regions of East and Central China, but they have fared better in the mountainous South and West. The Bejiji was confirmed extinct on the 12th of December 2006. China has over 32,000 species of vascular plants and is home to a variety of forest types. Coal coniferous forests predominate in the north of the country, supporting animal species such as moose and Asian black bear, along with over 120 bird species. The understory of moist conifer forests may contain thickets of bamboo. In high mountain stands of juniper and yew, and the yew, the bamboo is replaced by rhododendrons. Subtropical forests, which are predominant in central and southern China, support a high density of plant species, including numerous rare endemics. These are some of the information on the environment. The tropical seasonal rainforest, though confined to Yunnan and Henan, contain a quarter of all animals and plant species found in China. China has over 10,000 recorded species of fungi, and of them, nearly 6,000 are iron fungi. Environment, China, the environment of China, environmental issues in China, renewable energy in China, water resources of China, energy policy of China, and climate change in China. These are some of the big issues in China involving the environment. The Three Gorges Dam in the largest hydroelectric dam in the world, and the Three Gorges Dam is the largest hydroelectric dam in the world. In the early 2000s, China has suffered from environmental deterioration and population due to its rapid pace of industrialization. Regulations such as the 1979 Environmental Protection Law are fairly stringent, though they are poorly enforced, as they are frequently disregarded by local communities and government officials in favor of rapid economic development. China is the country with the second highest death toll because of air pollution, after India, with approximately 1 million deaths caused by exposure to ambient air pollution. So air pollution can be improved by using technology. And also technology can be actually applied to produce enough goods and services, including food and energy, housing, transportation, medical facilities, educational system. There is no excuse for poverty in China. There's no excuse for ill health the way it's happening now. That's a state negligence, in my opinion. Is similar to what is happening with the cost of living crisis, which shouldn't actually occur in the modern world. Because we have technology producing wealth for the super rich. Super rich are now playing with money like toys, taking money to build spaceship to prepare for holiday travels or holiday resort in outer space. And it is not clear what sort of outer space living or transportation or actually holiday dynamics defined in space. But only time will tell. What we need now to use some of the wealth being concentrated into the hands of a few ruling elites to actually get people out of poverty. It is impossible to get everybody in modern economy under the current environment, everyone to access the wealth. These in practice should be possible because of development in technology, where machine will be able sooner or later to produce enough goods and services for everyone, such that everyone will not only get out of poverty but also be able to access maximum wealth. That is to say, if we lose the desire to rule over one another, there are a group of a few individuals who are actually intent on staying in power to rule over other people. Because the idea of ruling over people is to protect your wealth from people who don't have wealth. If you have wealth, make sure nobody touches it. See that you keep your wealth. Those people create governments to rule over people, to make sure the people who are outside the opportunity, the privilege of wealth should be oppressed enough to prevent them from accessing wealth. That is what is happening because of rule. The desire. People in power want to maintain their power. They don't want to be toppled from their glory. And the idea of glory, of happiness, because you are actually ruling over other people, is a disease which is so difficult to cure, even with technology. Even if there is wealth, some people will still try to hoard wealth, like it is happening now. All wealth is being hoarded, so that the majority of the population don't actually access it. The selfish ambition, the ruling class, But that's not to say that the problem doesn't exist among the poor. Poor people have different set of experience because they suffer so much. I think by default they're, they're better humans than the super rich because they have learned humility because of poverty. Poverty are passed from generation to generation among certain class, among the majority, the working class, and they are relatively more humble, and humility is actually virtue. So you could argue because of poverty and prolonged suffering, the working class, people who are poor in the world, who are the majority, are humble. And that is actually a blessing in disguise because if they can learn from their hardship and become better people, people who begin to value humanity, I cannot assume or make presumptions, utterances to try and suggest, poor people are actually better than rich people, but comparatively because of their experience, normally if people suffer for so long, suffer poverty for so long, you produce a human quality involving humility, and humility is a virtuous attribute, and so I'm correct to almost speculatively to propose that poor people, the majority of the population, are actually better humans, and therefore it's easier to educate them to value humanity more than the super rich. Some people have been so rich generationally, from generation to generation, they inherit wealth from their parents, so much so that they have lost their sense of humanity. They now operate like machines. They have lost their soul. They have sold their soul to power and wealth, which is a very dangerous thing. And that's what now is causing the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis ultimately is triggered by abusing the public sector. An attitude on capitalism where there is violence, there is extremism, such that wealth is actually now hoarded. The majority actually excluded, such that if it is not resolved sooner or later, people will start dying. The poor will start dying out of poverty because of poverty. And when people die like that, the offense will always linger. It will become a curse on humanity. And there is going to be no peace for the rulers and also for the slaves. You watch the rest of my video. This will be collected. Explanation is provided in other videos. Let's go back to this material and look at the situation in China. Though China ranks as the highest CO2 emitting country in the world, it only emits 8 tons of CO2 per capita, significantly lower than developed countries such as the United States, 16.1, Australia is 16.8, South Korea 13.6. Greenhouse gas emissions by China are the world's largest. Wind farm in Xinjiang by 2020, China's renewable energy capacity was the largest in the world, more than European Union and North America combined. In recent years, China has clamped down on pollution. In March 2014, CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping declared war on pollution during the opening of the National People's Congress. In 2020, Xi announced that China aims to peak emissions before 2030 and go carbon neutral by 2060, in accordance with the Paris Agreement, which, according to the Climate Action Tracker, if accomplished, it would lower the expected rise in global temperature by 0.2 to 0.3 degrees, the highest single reduction ever estimated by the Climate Action Tracker. In September 2021, Xi Jinping announced that China will not build coal-fired power projects abroad. The decision can be pivotal in reducing emissions, and also the Belt and Road Initiative did not include financing such projects already in the first half of 2021. The country also had significant water pollution problems. Only 84.8% of China's national surface water was graded between grade 111 by the Ministry of Ecology and Environment in 2021, which indicates that they are suitable for human consumption. China a 2018 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 7.14 over 10 out of 10, ranking it 53rd globally out of 173 countries. In 2020, a sweeping law was passed by the Chinese government to protect the ecology of Yangtze River. The new laws include strengthening ecological protection rules for hydropower projects along the river, banning chemical plants within 1 kilometer of the river, relocating polluting industries, severely restricting sand mining, as well as a complete fishing ban on all the natural waterways of the river, including all its major tributaries and lakes. China is also the world's leading investor in renewable energy, and its commercialization with $546 billion invested in 2022. It is a major manufacturer of renewable energy technologies and invests heavily in local scale renewable energy projects. In 2022, 61.1% of Chinese electricity came from local largest producer of the world, 14.9% from hydroelectric power, largest 9.3% of wind, largest 4.7% from solar energy, largest in the world, 4.7% from natural gas, fifth largest in the world, and 1.9% from bioenergy, largest in the world. In total, 30.8% of Chinese energy came from renewable energy sources. This is all the information on the environment. Despite and policies, despite emphasis on renewables, China remains deeply connected to global oil markets, and next to India, has been the largest importer of Russian crude oil in 2022. Let's look at the political geography of China. Borders of China, coastline of China, and territorial changes of the People's Republic of China. Map showing the territorial claims of the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China is the second largest country in the world by land area after Russia, and the third or fourth largest country in the world by total area. China's total area is generally stated at being approximately 9.6 million square kilometers or 3.7 million square meters. So statistics about China. So specific figures range from 9.572 million 900 square kilometers or 3.696 million and 100 square miles, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, to 9.596 1,161 square kilometers, 3.705 thousand a million 406 square miles, according to the United Nations Demographic Yearbook and the world fact book. China has the longest continent, the longest combined land border in the world, measuring 22,117 kilometers, 13,743 miles, and its coastline covers approximately 14,500 kilometers, 9,000 miles from the south, from the mouth of the Yellow River, Amnok River, to the Gulf of Tonkin. Chinese borders, 14 nations cover the bulk of East Asia, bordering Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, India, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, and Afghanistan in the south. Asia, and Afghanistan in South Asia, and Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan in Central Asia, and Russia, Mongolia, and North Korea in Inner Asia and Northeast Asia. It is narrowly separated from Bangladesh and Thailand to the southwest and south, and has several maritime neighbors such as Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. We're going to look at politics, the politics of China, list of current Chinese provincial leaders, the Great Hall of the People, where the National People's Congress convenes. The Zhongnanhai headquarters of the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party. The People's Republic of China is the one-party state governed by the Marxist-Leninist Chinese Communist Party, CCP. This makes China one of the world's last countries governed by a Communist Party. The Chinese constitution states that the PRC is a socialist state governed by a people's democratic dictatorship that is led by the working class and based on the alliance of workers and peasants, and that the state institution shall practice the principle of democratic centralism. This is actually a lie or a form of ignorance. This by the state of China, by the government of China. There is nothing in the world known as the rule of the people. People do not rule, and people means the ruling class. But people in common parlance mean the majority. But when they talk of people, they actually talk about the minority who are rulers, because that is actually the default position of the ruling system. The ruling infrastructure is defaulted to have a few ruling over the many. I spoke about rule in the other video. What is the other video in conjunction with this? So anybody who talk of democracy is the most fake system of government ever, because at least communism is overtly dictatorial. Is an overt dictatorship. Democracy is stealthy. Democracy is like an invisible cancer, a lethal disease which do not show its true color unless you really fire it, unless you look around to try and find out where it is. So democracy is the most dangerous system of government, because it actually deceives people that the government, the state actually is owned by the people. People meaning majority. It actually implies majority rule, which it does not, because there is nothing like that. Rule is actually to be imposed by force. It doesn't matter which system it is, whether it is communism or capitalism, or democracy, whatever, autocracy, military or civil dictatorship, the same. Except some are more brutal than others. and with some system of dictatorship, you die faster. But other form of dictatorship, you die slowly. They kill you softly. But you see, if you have an enemy, you can see it's easier to deal with. Because if people are put to sleep in a democracy, in a democratic, in a country alleged to be democracy to mean, people are actually free. There is nothing like freedom. Freedom does not exist. As long as the law is there in a country, that means that country practices dictatorship. Dictatorship is the opposite of freedom, and it is an inevitability. If you see a government exist, the government is actually an instrument of dictatorship, of despotism, of violence. Actually, the government is extremely evil. It's the type of evil we have designed, we have established. Because you see, government without truth. See, it depends what you mean by truth. What I mean by truth. I mean, if there is a government, then the government should be fit for purpose. Capitalism, communism, democracy, or whatever we practice has never been fit. It will never be fit. For one reason at least, humanity are never fit to rule over anything or anyone. Okay, they can rule over other things, like wild animals. They can rule over the environment, which they have done very successfully in terms of development. We have conquered the earth and actually produced technology, but we have failed to achieve peace. Because the government is incapable of producing peace. It's a lethal weapon, which is what we have, which is what we will have, unless we turn around and learn peace. And learning peace starts with the starting point to learn peace is to start valuing humanity more than even rule. What we have now, rule comes first, power comes first, money and wealth comes first, humanity comes last. That lack of prioritization in terms of the right kind of valuation has produced a form of violence, which actually now threatens humanity with extinction. And this is actually the situation featuring actually the symptoms is symptomatized by incidents such as the cost of living crisis. And that's why I'm trying to really draw attention to the deeper problem, looking beyond the cost of living crisis, deeper into the system of rule, which actually people who are not fit to govern at all. None of the human now, nobody is actually able to rule, because we do not understand peace at all. We need to teach ourselves peace first, then we begin to rule. I just say, humans are not really designed to rule over humans. Why should a human being rule over another human being? They are not really supposed to rule over anybody. There will never come a time when humanity will be fit for rule, because humans are not supposed to rule over anyone. They may rule over animals because they are animals, are not humans. I mean, we are humans. We have to live freely with each other. We have to build relationship. Rule does not provide relationship. It provides slavery. It provides violence. It produces wrath. It actually points us to a future of extinction. If we don't stop ruling over one another, sooner or later humanity is going to go extinct. And at every problem we see where there is war of all kinds, biological warfare, weaponizing wealth, weaponizing the environment, weaponizing nature. One day you will wake up to discover that Climate change is created deliberately as a weapon to destroy humanity. I'm not saying that's what's happening because I don't have evidence, but I have my suspicion. Fires are burning people to death to kill them. You see, floods are killing people. And normally it kills the poor. The poor are actually out of power. They are always victim of any incident, including the cost of living crisis. The majority poor are actually the ones suffering. Which is should create now look at Israel. It is children and ordinary citizens are being killed. None of the ruling class has died in the conflict in Ukraine. Every time there's a conflict, even natural disasters kill poor people. Even COVID-19 was killing ordinary people. The pattern is there. The majority are being killed by anything, everything, even wild animals. If they come to attack, they're going to attack poor people. And it is not impossible for people to actually induce wildlife to start attacking poor people, to start attacking humans, weaponizing nature. I think this is possible. It can happen because the humanity has demonstrated violence such as seen nowhere in existence. Humanity are by far the most violent creature because they are so capable at prosecuting violence. And this is a really tragic survey on humanity. The answer to this question, in my opinion, is to start learning with our culture. And our culture means we go back to basic to value humanity in the basic sense of the word. Humanity should be a priority. This learning should go into our heads to change who we are, our character, our mentality, working for peace, sowing a seed for peace. And this is what I am trying to talk about. So let's look at China. The Chinese constitution states that the PRC is a socialist state governed by a people's democratic dictatorship that is led by the working class. The working class do not rule anything. They don't lead anything. This is either a lie or total ignorance by the Chinese constitution itself, which is fraudulent or actually bogus. Either it is a fraud on the people of China or a bogus instrument of either lying or barbarism, or they just don't know anything they're talking about, because people, the working class have never been in power. They will never be in power. They are slaves. How can a slave be a ruler? This is an insult, it's a contradiction, totally contradiction in terms. The minority, even in under communism, the minority are the one who rules. Under capitalism, the same. Whatever rule of government or a system of rule in the world, the few always rule over the many. It's a shame. So this constitution is rotten to the core, and it should be really removed. And the truth should be the dictatorship. If you talk of democratic dictatorship, that is true. Democratic dictatorship is where people's democratic dictatorship may be true, but where people is to be defined to mean the few, but not the working class, because the working class in any country are the majority, the 90 to 95% on average globally. Those are the workers. Workers have never been in power to rule anybody. Even their numbers has never helped. It is a deception or total mistake, ignorance of what is happening. The state is ignorant in China, is ignorant everywhere, because democracy, the Western style democracy also says, claim the same thing. That because at least the Chinese are honest about democracy. Democratic dictatorship is true of any democracy, because democracy involves rule of the few over the many, consistently everywhere. So the working class based on an alliance of workers and peasants. That is not true. Alliance of workers and peasants do not rule over anybody. They are slaves. They are ruled over. They are brainwashed by the communist system, and also capitalist system, which is actually the same they are just branded differently. There is no difference between communism and capitalism. They are ruled by the few over the many, and they use wealth to oppress the slaves in the same way. There you go. And that is why I'm talking about the cost of living, so that we can understand what is causing it. It's a system of rule which is violent and archaic and backward. So we need to change that. And so what we say about peasants, and that the state institution shall practice the principle of democratic centralism. Democratic centralism is true. That means centralizing power. Democracy is a nonsensical terminology because it does not exist. Centralism, yes, but this is dictatorship. Dictatorial centralism is centralized power using wealth. Wealth is channeled from the many to the few. And it's capitalistic, communistic, as we can see. China talk about communism. Communism is a myth. It is capitalism. Capitalism is not a myth because it's the existing. Well, communism and communism as a vehicle for democracy is a myth because democracy doesn't exist. Democracy cannot operate under a system of rule at all because people are not supposed to rule. What are they ruling? They're not ruling over animals. They're ruling over other humans. The few, unfortunately, with power, are ruling over because that's the only way to rule over other people. People cannot access power. If they access power, the system will collapse. And if China has been doing that, it would have collapsed a long time ago. Any system allowing the majority of the population to be in power will collapse within a week. So it has never been, will never happen. This is just either the state is lying in China and in Asia, in Europe, in the West, in the East. There are bunches of liars or ignorant fools who are really the blind leading the blind, which is a tragic situation. It's a tragic survey on humanity. We need to change. We need to change and achieve enlightenment, and that is actually focus on humanity and focus on peace. Rule has nothing to do with peace. That's why leaders always congregate talking peace. The more they talk peace, the more. You see, the problem with modern society, you don't look at the violence, you don't see the violence. The violence is actually in heart attack, stress, obesity, mental illness, stress, more stress. Sleeplessness, nightmare. People, we look healthy, but we have less and less peace. We appear to be, we dress up nicely, but inside we are actually dying more than those who died, who used to live in the past. The violence and the offenses are less physical. It's more internal. It's destroying our minds, destroying our souls. We are dying while smiling. We get some of the most insane people running the world. We actually think they are gods. They are not. Because you see, the level of depravity has gone underground. We have actually beautified the outside of our society. The cities, the beautification of our cities, of the people, the way our skin looks, we look beautiful on the outside. Inside, we are getting uglier and uglier and more violent. And the things we now do, the things in our head, the pain we go through, is horrific. Life is getting worse and worse. Appearances are becoming more and more deceptive. There is a sense of urgency now. That's why we cannot explain the cost of living crisis. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. There is no logic to the majority of the population staying in poverty. In a rich world, the level of wealth we have produced over the decades under development is immense. These wealth are actually hoarded. deliberately people are prevented from accessing it. They are given enough to keep them alive for one reason or another. The quality of food is despicable. It looks good. We eat toxins. There are actually food being produced today with limited food value. We keep on piling junk and junk and junk into our. We are so obese. We are so unfit. We are miserable. We live longer, all right, but miserable. There are people in the world today who would wish they were dead. People are more committing suicide. Evidence of tragedy. Until the system of violence stops and we begin pursuing wealth. Wealth is the only way for us to be happy. Peace, rather. Peace is our only route to happiness. Without peace, we can never be happy. Okay? And violence is going up. We go to school to learn violence. Let's go back to look at this material and see what we are going to get. So let us look at this material about China. The main body of the Constitution also declares that the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics is the leadership of the Communist Party of China. What does it do? The PRC officially terms itself as a democracy, using terms such as socialist, consultative democracy, and whole process people's democracy. Those are actually they are weasel words. They mean nothing. Democracy. The moment people put democracy in the context of rules, they are at the line or just totally bonkers, totally ignorant, not knowing a thing of what they are talking about. However, the country is commonly described as an authoritarian one-party state, and the dictatorship with among the heaviest restrictions worldwide in many areas, most notably against freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, reproductive rights, free formation of social organization, freedom of religion, and free access to the internet. This is true, but it is true of any government of rule. And there is nothing like free press. It never exists. It will never exist. The press is controlled by the ruling elites. When was the last time you went to a national press to speak for yourself about poverty, about the cost of living crisis? You will never be invited. You will never ever even see the face of a journalist. You see, the press are there. It's a propaganda machine for the ruling class. That's why they are the only one who speak at the press. Freedom means freedom for the few who are rulers. They are free now. Going forward, we are all going to be victims of our own lunacy, our own, attraction. And that is the bottom line. Because if we don't start working for peace now, we are going to be in serious trouble, whether you are actually a master or a slave. So there's no free press for anyone, except for the few. If they are, I don't know how free they are. If they are free, then let them be free. A freedom for them. Because what is free press? Free press for what? The people who are actually slaves are not allowed to speak. And if they are poor, they are not allowed to tell the ruling elites that they are poor, because nobody listens to them. See, they are excluded even from speaking. Freedom of speech, if it is to mean, being spoken and heard, doesn't exist for people who are slaves, because they don't even access. They don't go to parliament. See, there is some nonsense known as representative democracy. That is total rubbish. To me, people are actually consenting. People don't consent. People just vote because they are ignorant, or they are actually for us to vote. Like if you don't register in some countries, if you don't register to vote, that's probably a criminal offense. I have to check the information. I think it's a crime. You are supposed to vote, to register as a voter in a country. So the next, where are we going next? The next time you have to vote to impose democracy on people, because democracy is fake. Freedom is fake within democracy, within the system. That's wrong with all this. The media is supposed to be free, but it cannot be free because it operates under a system of rule of people, a few individuals over the many. Whether rule is operated by a few over the many is irrelevant. It's not important. The fact that there are people ruling over other people, a group of people actually ruling over people, and within the hierarchy, they rule over each other. That's why, which is a fake sense of comfort for the rulers, who might mistakenly think they are going to succeed, but they operate a fail because you take the system of government, there is the president, which is actually first among equal, among the ruling elite, and he holds sway over ministers. And also you got parliament as a communion who put pressure on the other rulers. So there is no peace for them either. It's them and us who are out of reach, power, unless we create our own system of power. See, the idea of ruling over one another is not allowed. But the teaching of this system is cascading down society and producing the type of violence it's needed. When it explodes to our face, we don't even know how dangerous society has become. Because of the path we have taken is actually into oblivion. We are going down into a dungeon, we're heading toward total disaster. So we need to stop and turn around, start learning, and learning some of the things we have done in terms of rule, and ease our way out of that treacherous pathway, and come back to true freedom, where people are actually released from the bondage of slavery. Because that is what communism, that's what it does. So when we say freedom of the press, that is just a total, it's a wishful thinking, actually. At least in Wonderland. Freedom of assembly. Remove the word freedom. Freedom only occurs when you rule yourself. Not when the idea of rule actually is shut down. It's shut down because somebody is ruling somebody else over somebody else. You have to have control of your life. That is freedom. You cannot have freedom when there is dictatorship, when there is slavery. There is a lot of violence. We see it. We see the law. We see the military. We see the police. What are they doing? Are we free with the army, with the police, with the law, courts, and death sentences for the slaves? I mean, where capital punishment happen, you will never hear the head of state being hung in the modern world, because the level of dictatorship has still different. At least in the past, head of state could be lynched to death. Not anymore. You will never even hear a head of state in the modern world going into prison, especially in Africa. Certainly not in China. Why are they not put into prison or even hanged? Because they are the masters. In the United Kingdom, you will never hear any member of the royal family being sent into prison. Why? Because they're above the law. They're the rulers. They set laws to impose the law over other people. In America, the same thing. In Africa. Anything, the evidence is there. Unfortunately, we are on the wrong track. So the cost of living is evidence of that. It's a symptom of violence and dictatorship. There's no democracy. So let us just be quiet and be happy if you want to be happy. Let's be sad if you want to be sad. So what do we say? Free formation of social organization, free freedom of religion, free access to the internet. These are mythical expressions. They are good on paper, but in practice they are a myth. China has consistently been ranked amongst the lowest as an authoritarian regime by the Economist Intelligence Unit's Democracy Index ranking at 156 out of 167 countries in 2021. Well, that is their system of ranking. This is them and us. And that doesn't mean we are better than them. We are just excluded and we are the victim of this society, a system which is evil. Sorry about that. Chinese Communist Party. All I'm trying to say, rule by a group of individuals over others. Rule, people ruling over each other is wrong. It's never, because it actually takes away peace. It produces violence, and violence is wrong for us because it kills us. That's why people are dying, because we have actually created a system of violence as an industry of slaughter and barbarism. We are not worthy as a species. Some of the most dangerous species ever created, who ever evolved, whichever school of thought you come. The Chinese Communist Party is the founding and ruling political party of the People's Republic of China. According to the CCP Constitution, its highest body of the CCP is the National Congress, held every 5 years. This is actually the situation in terms of the institution of the state. The National Congress elects the Central Committee, who then elects the party's Politburo Standing Committee, and the General Secretary Party Leader, the top leadership of the country. The General Secretary holds ultimate power and authority over state and government and serves as the informal paramount leader. The current General Secretary is Xi Jinping, who took office on the 15th of November 2012. At the local level, the Secretary of the CCP Committee of Subdivision outranks the local government level. CCP Committee Secretary of Provincial Division outranks the governor, while the CCP Committee Secretary of the city outranks the mayor. The CCP is officially guided by socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is Marxism adapted to Chinese circumstances. There is nothing like Chinese circumstances. That's the bottom line. It's a choice they have made. Government of China, list of national leaders of the People's Republic of China. We are going to look at these components in the next video. Thank you for watching my video, for attending my channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.